Hi ladies, welcome back. All right, we're going to talk about time cards today. So time cards essentially are an item that used to be a physical thing and now they're on the computer that track how long you've been working. And so this is especially prevalent, or actually more so relevant, for hourly paid workers. And sometimes, though, the trick is that some employers can work with AM, PM, which is called the 12-hour clock, which is what we traditionally use. But they could also work with military time, which is called the 24-hour clock. And so we are going to take a little bit of time today to look at when time is expressed either way and how to deal with that, and then also how to calculate how long people have been working. Okay, so again, blanks are blank on your page and filled in on mine, so make sure to copy them in. All right, 12-hour clock versus 24-hour clock. The main differences are that the 12-hour clock is broken into AM and PM, whereas the 24-hour clock starts at midnight and then ends 1 minute before midnight the next day, which means that the first time measured is 0 minutes of the day have passed and ends at 23:59, meaning that the 24 hours have ended of the day. Okay, and AM means before midday and comes from ante-meridium, and PM comes from post-meridium and means after midday. Okay, so like after lunch, before lunch, essentially, afternoon, before noon. Okay, so switching between the two types. If we want to go from the 12-hour clock to the 24-hour clock, we have two options for morning times and for afternoon times. For morning times, all we're going to do is add a 0 in front of a time that starts with 1 to 9 and then remove AM. Okay, so let's do an example of that. You can see here I have 9:53 a.m., so we have a time starting with 1 to 9. That's in the morning, right? So I'm going to add a 0 in front of the 9, like it says, and then I'm going to remove a.m., okay? So there we go. 09:53 is how you would say that, okay? Now for another morning time here, it doesn't start with 1 to 9, so I don't have to remove a 0. Add a 0, pardon me. Don't have to add a 0. I just have to remove the AM. So, there we go, 11:45. That would be how you would write 11:45 a.m. in 24-hour clock. Now, some of you might be wondering, how do you know if it's AM or PM? Remember that because the 24-hour clock runs until 23:59, 11 p.m. is not going to have an 11 in it. We're going to talk about that in a second. Okay. Now, for afternoon times, you would add 12 hours to the time and then remove PM. Okay. So again, looking here, we have a couple afternoon times, and we're just going to look at those. So 1:05, we're going to add 12 hours. So we're going to do 1 plus 12 is equal to 13. And then we're going to keep the rest of the time and remove the PM. Okay. So all I've done here is, is add that 12 hours and then remove the PM. So that's my final answer there. Okay, so 13:05 means 1:05 p.m. And then for 10:06 p.m., same thing. Okay, I'm going to take those hours, 10, and I'm going to add, there we go, my stylus is working now, 12 hours to it to get me to 22. And then I'm going to remove PM. Okay, so there we go, 22:06. All right, let's scroll down. So we can also go the other way from 24-hour to 12-hour. When that happens, for any time from 00:01, so 1 minute after midnight, until 12:59, we're going to keep the time the same, and we're going to add AM or PM. In some cases, we'll need to remove the 0 from the start of the time if it's before 10 a.m. Let's look at a couple examples. Okay, so here we go, 01:05. That's between 00:01 and 12:59, and so we're going to keep the time the same. We're going to add AM or PM. So now because this is at like before 12, before noon, then it's in the morning. Okay, or in this case, kind of the middle of the night, really. And then we're going to remove the 0 because this is before 10 a.m. Okay. All right, 12:06, also still before 12:59, so keep the time the same. Oh boy. And then add AM or PM. Now because this is after 12, after noon, then it's going to be PM. Okay, and this is not before 10 a.m., so we don't have to remove any zeros. So there we go. Okay, for any time from 1300, that's how people usually say this in military time, to 2359, subtract 12 hours from the time and then add PM. Okay, so let's take a look here. This is between 1300 and 2359. So we're going to take the hours, and this time we're going to subtract 12, okay, just the opposite of what we did in the other examples because we're going backwards now. And add PM. There we go. So 1422 is 2:22 p.m. Okay, 2302, same thing here. We're going to subtract that 12, and then we're going to add the PM. Okay, there you go. So like I said, a time that is at 11 p.m. will be represented by 23 if we're talking about military time. Okay, that's kind of what I was referencing earlier. All right, we are going to convert some hours and minutes into decimals, and then there's a you try. Okay, so we are going to talk about converting a number of minutes into a decimal, which we actually have talked about a little bit in our year, but you might have forgotten, so I'm just going to recap quickly. Okay, what you're going to do, it's really very easy. Take the number of minutes and divide them by 60. That's all. Okay, if there are hours in the reading like here, in the first example, don't worry about the hours. We're just going to leave that for a minute, okay? So we're just going to take the number of minutes. We're going to divide it by 60, okay? So 12 divided by 60, I'm just punching that into my calculator, is 0.2. So now you can put that back together. So now we have 3 hours and 0.2 hours. So we have 3.2 hours. All right, again here, we're going to take those minutes and we're going to divide by 60. And that is going to give me 0.83 hours. Okay, I rounded because the decimal goes for a long time. That's fine. And we're going to put that together with the other 1 hour that's there. So we're going to 1.83 hours. Okay, here we go. Again, this time when we divide 75, there we go, by 60. We're going to get actually a bigger number, okay, than 1, right? So in both of the other cases, they've been small values, less than 1. So in this case, we're just going to remember that we have to add the whole decimal to the previously existing hour measurement, which in this case was 7. Okay, so I'm just going to add 7 hours to 1.25 hours. I know that's a little bit squishy. I apologize. Just kind of ran out of room in our notes. But hopefully that is still legible for you. Okay, and in this case, you can see that the difference here is that we don't actually have another hour to go with it. It just was 36 minutes. And so because that's less than 1 hour, then our final reading is also going to be less than 1 hour, right? 0.6 of an hour. Okay, there we go. I'm going to write in these answers. You should try them right now, and then you can check them against mine, okay? Okay, so hopefully you tried those on your own, didn't just copy me. I just want to make a quick note for the other examples, okay, so here and here. In both cases, what's happening to get those final answers is we're just adding that decimal to the original amount of hours, okay? So here what we were doing is we're doing 1 plus 0.83 is equal to 1.83, and that's where we got that number, okay? And then same thing on this first example, we did 3 plus 0.2 is equal to 3.2. Okay, so that's what I was doing to get those answers. All right, let's move down. We have one long example, okay? This example is very long, and because of that, I did start it before I made the video, just to save a little bit of time, because I know you guys don't love watching, like, super long videos, and that's fine. I don't like making super long videos either. So we are going to look at Jenna's time card for 1 week of work. For the record, I know an Italian girl. She's very nice. It's not really about whether she's nice or Italian, though. I just mean that this is an Italian name, and she pronounces her name Jenna, so that's why I am too. I kind of use people's names and examples, usually people I know. Anyways, okay, Jenna's time card for 1 week of work is below. She earns minimum wage in Manitoba, which is $11.65 an hour, last time I checked, and we want to figure out how many hours she worked and her gross pay. Okay, so I just want to make a quick note. I wrote it up here. If you have trouble determining the amount of time between two different time readings, you need to talk to me or do some homework practice, which I can help you find. Okay, this is a skill you should have by now, but if you're rusty on it or feeling not confident, it's okay. I don't want you to feel bad about that, but we are going to fix that. Okay, this is an important skill. Okay, so what I've taken the liberty of doing is figuring out how long is between each of these time readings. Okay, so what I did was I just calculated how long is between 9:05 in the morning and 12:15 p.m. That's 3 hours and 10 minutes. Between 9:02 a.m. and 12:13 p.m., that's 3 hours and 11 minutes. Between 8:58 a.m. and 12:14 p.m., that's 3 hours and 16 minutes, and so on. Okay, so that's what I've done. That's how I got all of these readings, and same thing here. Okay, so you can copy those in, of course, and then what we're going to do together is convert those into decimals. Okay, so we're going to have, again, that 3. I need to zoom in a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so 3 hours, and then we're going to find that decimal, okay? And so you're just going to do that thing where we divide the minutes by 60 to get the decimal value. Okay, so I divided 10 by 60, that gave me 0.17. Again, I rounded, that's fine. And then that gives you the decimal. Okay, so for every minute value, I'm just going to be dividing by 60 and going to add that decimal onto the end, okay, of the number. So here I did 11 minutes divided by 60, and that gave me 0.18, and so on. Okay, so now I'm doing 16 divided by 60, and that gives me 0.27. Okay, and so you can see in each case that the hour was 3 hours in each case, right? And so then that's why that whole part of the number is staying as 3, right? Because I'm just adding the decimal to it. So in all of these cases, that doesn't change. Okay, let's keep moving here. Okay, and then again, last but not least, on this column, 50 divided by 60 gives me 0.83 hours. And so we're going to have 3 hours and and then a decimal of 0.83. Okay, I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. This would be a great time for you to pause the video, try this yourself, and see if you did it right. Okay, I would highly encourage that. I'm going to still do the work, of course, but please try it on your own first. Okay, hopefully you're hearing me now after having paused. I can't make that happen, of course, but it's very good for your learning, so I'd really recommend. Okay, so again, I'm just dividing each of the minutes, not the hours, not that 3 hours to start, but just the minutes by 60 to get a decimal. Okay, and then I'm writing it in, rounding where necessary. Okay, and you can see that I'm always rounding to 2 decimal places. I just think that makes the most sense. But if you chose to round to a different decimal place, that would be fine. I wouldn't be upset about it. Oh boy. Okay, and then 3:10 is the last one here, 3 hours and 10 minutes, which we've converted before on the first column to give me that. All right. Okay, so now we're going to use all those purple values, okay, and we're going to add them all up. The reason we're going to add them all up is because the first part of the question says determine the total amount of hours she worked that week. Okay, and so to do that, we're just going to add all of our hours up. Okay, so total hours worked. Okay, just adding them all up. Okay, so I'm going to write this out. It's a little bit tedious, but this way you'll know what we were doing, right? So I would encourage you to write this out as well. So when you go back to look at your notes, you actually know what we did. Okay, so I'm just adding all of her morning hours up with her evening, if you will, hours. The afternoon, I guess, is a better word, hours. Okay, so I'm just going to add them all up. There we go. And I'm just plugging them into my calculator, okay? So 3.17 plus 3.18 and so on, okay? So it's going to take me a second. You should try it on your own as well. We're going to see if we get the same number. Okay, I got 33.18 hours. Okay, so that's my first total. If you got a different number than me, please let me know. We can figure out what happened. If I made a mistake, I'm sorry. I did my best. Sometimes it happens that you accidentally press the wrong button on the calculator and so on. But if you get the same number as me, that's great. And if I somehow did get it wrong, then don't worry. Okay, the process of how I'm doing this is what's important, not the exact number. Okay, the last part of the question asks how much is her gross pay? What does she get paid for that? Okay, so remember that she gets paid $11.65 an hour. Okay, that's a really important piece of information. And we know that she worked 33.18 hours, right? So we have $11.65 per hour times 33.18 hours is her total pay. Okay, and can't seem to write an R to save my life today. Maybe I'm just being really picky. There we go. I'm going to multiply those numbers together on my calculator, just like we've been looking at in all the other lessons. And that's going to give me $386. And, well, it actually, when you look on your calculator, it does give you a decimal that has more than enough decimals, right? So it gives you this on your calculator. But I just want to remind you that with money, we always round to 2 decimal places. Always, okay? So we're going to round that up to $386.55 and finish with a sentence. She earned $386.55 for 33.18 hours of work. There we go. Okay, long lesson. Well done, you guys. I'm glad you stuck with me through it. This can feel a little bit challenging to some people, so please watch this video again if you need to. Ask me for help. I do have other reference materials I can send you. And otherwise, you can keep your eye out for an assignment coming up soon. Okay, take care, ladies.